When talking about Black Ops 4, one aspect that is impossible to ignore is the heads-up display. Over the years, the HUD has had several minor changes from game to game and even from map to map. However, it was in Black Ops 4 where the changes being made were drastic enough to warrant overwhelming negative attention. What exactly did Treyarch change with the HUD, and how could these changes be significant enough to cause such a harsh negative reaction? Today, let's take a deep dive into the heads-up display of Black Ops 4 Zombies. Unlike other negative aspects of Black Ops 4 Zombies, the downside of the HUD is simple and easy to understand. It's just too cluttered. There are too many elements displayed at all times, it breaks the immersion of the player, and frankly, isn't that visually appealing. Going back and looking at the HUD of Black Ops 3 Zombies, the difference is palpable. Black Ops 3's HUD is concise, clear, and clean. So this video should be the easiest one yet, just go back to the Black Ops 3 HUD. Problem solved, right? Well, while the Black Ops 3 HUD is better than the Black Ops 4 HUD, I want to dive into the specific elements of the Black Ops 4 HUD and try to understand why they were changed, and what upsides these elements now have in Black Ops 4 that they didn't have in Black Ops 3. Let's begin at the bottom left of the screen. We have some familiar elements like our character picture and our point counter. However, we also have two new additions, one being the self-revive counter sitting next to our character picture, and the other being a visual health bar. I don't think it requires a huge leap in logic to understand the positive aspects of including these new additions. The self-revive counter is small and very inoffensive, and personally, after playing many hours of Black Ops 4 Zombies, I have grown to love the visual health indicator. Having that visual health indicator gives players more information, which allows players to make more strategic and intelligent gameplay decisions. Whether it's knowing when to jump through the fire to perform the fire immunity Easter egg on 9, or being able to see when your health regenerates after a vampire bite on Dead of the Night, having a visual health indicator is something that I absolutely adore having. However, with the addition of this health indicator, the developers added a visual background to encompass the health bar and point counter, which led to these HUD elements taking up more screen space than they have in previous zombie installments, which meant that there is less room on screen for other elements like the round counter and perks in that area of the HUD. Because there is no more room for the round change counter in the bottom left side of the HUD, it had to be moved somewhere else. Treyarch decided the best location for it to be would be in the top left corner of the screen. This isn't something new to the zombie series, seeing as in Infinite Warfare Zombies, the scene counter was in the top right side of the HUD. Yet the round counter is not the only thing that lives in this area of the screen. We have a new addition to the HUD with a location indicator. This indicator gives the player a specific name for every location they are within the map. This is a great quality of life addition that allows players to more accurately retain and share information. Whether it's players playing cooperatively within the same game, or a player is watching one of the best zombie tutorial series on YouTube, having standardized location callouts helps players talk about and navigate the map in a more efficient and accurate way. Having these two elements located here is a mixed bag for me personally. On one hand, they are small, don't take up much room, and are easily ignorable. On the other hand, because they are so small and don't take up much space, I can't help but feel like they could be placed somewhere else with just a bit of resizing and adjusting of other HUD elements. Which leads me to a suggestion I have with the location indicator, utilizing the select screen. The select screen contains many bits of useful information that aren't necessary to show at all times. Things like Easter egg progression, the player's inventory of parts, and the specific names of the player's elixirs. I believe that having the location indicator on this screen would fit right in and clear up at least a bit of the normal default HUD. Moving on, in addition to the round counter moving away from the bottom left side of the screen, the perk indicators were also moved. They are now located in the bottom center of the HUD. Not only were they moved, but they were given a visual element that makes them look more purposeful, grounded, rather than the traditional floating, aimless look perks had in the past. This change is something I constantly have trouble figuring out how I feel about it. Obviously, having the additional graphic underneath the perks gives the entire element a larger scale, which takes up more space, which, with this HUD, isn't necessarily a good thing. And yet, looking at the entire element for itself visually, I really like it. Taking a look at the previous zombie games, the perks just appear and are floating in the center of the HUD, and it feels very rough, unfinished, and unpolished when compared to the new graphic of the Black Ops 4 perk icons. Even if Treyarch kept the new graphic underneath the perk icons, but moved them back to where they were located, to the bottom left of the HUD, I can't help but feel like it just wouldn't be as visually appealing to me. For the most part, this decision is a subjective decision. I believe Treyarch could move the perks back to how they were displayed in previous games with little to no effort at all, with one glaring exception. We have a brand new perk system in Black Ops 4, one that ties perks to specific perk statues within the map. Treyarch wanted to give players the necessary information to find these statues, and therefore specific perks, on their HUD. For this reason, alongside the new graphic element underneath the perks, there are the perk statue names floating above the perk icons. If Treyarch were to go back to the way they displayed perks on the HUD before Black Ops 4, they would lose this small yet useful piece of information that ties in with their new perk system. Now, some of you might be saying to yourself, easy, just go back to the old perk system, which is one possibility. However, we will tackle that topic in a different video. However, for this video, we will retain the Black Ops 4 perk system and still attempt to come up with a solution. I think the solution lies in a compromise of both ways of displaying the perk icons. First and foremost, I think we need to revert back to the old ways of displaying the perks, having them pop up and floating on the bottom left side of the screen. Keep in mind, when you are given a free perk or use an elixir that gives you more perks, the bonus perks already are displayed in the traditional location and style. Additionally, like my location indicator suggestion, I believe the perk statue names and the fancy graphic should be shown on the select screen. The select screen is reserved for items and elements that aren't necessary at a glance to see. What perks are tied to which statues, in my opinion, would fit perfectly on the select screen, since the players don't necessarily need that information on the fly. Not only would the perks take up less space on the HUD when fully displayed, I would have it so that the perks would not show up until a player purchases them, which would lead to an even cleaner looking HUD at the start of every game. In my opinion, this would be the best of both worlds, keeping a traditional, clean looking HUD, yet not compromising on the helpful and visually appealing look of the Black Ops 4 style of perk icons. Moving on, the Black Ops 4 Elixir system allows players to have access to 4 elixirs at the exact same time with the use of the D-pad. Now, I have created an entire video talking about how I would re-implement the Elixir system, link in the icon above, and in that video I discuss how I would alter the HUD in a similar way to the Infinite Warfare Zombies Fate and Fortune cards. Have the players use the D-pad to cycle through their elixirs rather than display all of them at the same time. This is something that I would stand by as my primary suggestion. However, it wouldn't be fair if I moved on without talking about how the Elixir HUD elements are currently implemented. Obviously, Treyarch wanted to give more power to the players with Black Ops 4 and encourage more strategy and creative freedom. Allowing players to have access to all 4 of their selected elixirs with a single button press is exactly how Treyarch intended for players to interact with this system. Unfortunately, with this specific implementation, I find it really difficult to come up with a solution that both saves on screen space and retains the core implementation that Treyarch desired to have with their Elixir system. The only solution I could come up with comes in the form of a mixture of the select screen suggestion I've previously mentioned in this video, as well as an old forgotten aspect of some Call of Duty HUDs: fading elements. Take a look here in Black Ops 1. The entire bottom right side of the HUD will fade away after a short duration. This is something I wholeheartedly believe could be a viable solution to some HUD elements. Over the course of an entire zombies game, players will use their elixirs for an incredibly small fraction of time. Therefore, if the elixirs were to fade away after 15 to 20 seconds, it wouldn't be that big of a loss of information. Plus, you would get the upside of making the HUD that much cleaner and unobtrusive. If a player did want to see what elixir was in which slot, all they would need to do is simply look at the select screen. If a player looked at the select screen, or even used an elixir, or even if an elixir cooldown is finished, the current elixir HUD elements could show up on screen for that 15 to 20 seconds and then fade away afterwards. Once again, this is a solution I would be incredibly happy to see. Let's talk about some easy stuff now. The bottom right of the HUD holds the weapon picture, ammo counter, alternate ammo type, and weapon slot indicator. The ammo counter, alternate ammo type indicator, and weapon slot indicator are all very well done, and there really isn't a problem with them. As a side note, however, the newly implemented weapon slot indicator is a fantastic idea. This, alongside the new mule kick icon for your mule kick weapon, is a wonderful addition that doesn't add much clutter to the HUD and gives great information to the player to have at a glance. The unfortunate aspect of this indicator is that it seems to be non-functioning a majority of the time, at least in my personal experience. Oftentimes, it does not indicate what weapon slot I currently have equipped at all. Anyway, as I stated, most of these HUD elements are perfectly fine and work well with this HUD layout. That being said, the weapon picture makes absolutely no sense. There is no need to show a picture of the weapon players are currently holding in their hands. It's just nonsensical. Not only does it not make any sense, but it takes up a good amount of screen space that could be used to tighten up other elements of the HUD. I genuinely can't think of a reason to have the picture of the weapon the player is holding on the HUD. For that reason, my solution is just to eliminate that element. We can keep the weapon name, as that is an important aspect, but the picture needs to go. The shield, specialist, and equipment HUD elements are some of the most frustrating aspects to the Black Ops 4 HUD, in my opinion. Compared to their previous installments, these elements take up an enormous amount of space on screen, although they have been changed for a really good reason. Each of these elements contain a piece of information that the player could use at a glance during a critical gameplay moment. These elements cannot simply be hidden away at the select screen, nor can they fade out after a while, seeing as at any given moment, the player might need to see how long they have on their equipment cooldown, or if they have their specialist weapon ready for activation, or how much shield durability they have left. It's for that exact reason that Treyarch did increase the size of these specific HUD elements to the size they are now. The cooldown timers, the durability bar needs to be easily viewable and comprehensive at a glance. Taking a look back at the Black Ops 3 version of these icons, they are incredibly small, and in the case of the shield durability, can be very difficult to see. As with many other changes to the HUD, these changes took place due to the dynamics of these gameplay mechanics changing for Black Ops 4. Grenades in previous games did not recharge, therefore could be reduced down to a small, insignificant HUD element. The specialist weapons did not level up, therefore the level indicator was not necessary. Perhaps the easiest change to revert would be the shield, seeing as it is functionally identical to the shields in Black Ops 3. But I think that might be too hasty to just revert that change without truly appreciating the Black Ops 4 shield indicator. This new shield icon is significantly easier to read at a glance. And this is the exact same upside to the other elements that live in this area of the HUD. The specialist icon, the equipment icon, and the shield icon are all very easy to read. Not to mention, they are all individually pretty visually appealing. The reason I said that these HUD elements are some of the most frustrating in Black Ops 4 is because the positives of these elements are very apparent to me. I see how easy they are to read and appreciate how clean they appear. Yet at the same time, I see how cluttered they automatically make the HUD by being as big as they are. And unfortunately, I don't see an easy solution. The only solution is perhaps a simple resizing and repositioning closer to the right side of the screen. And hopefully with the other alterations I made with the other aspects of the HUD, it wouldn't be as overwhelmingly cluttered as it currently is. I wish I had a better solution, but that's all I got. I have seen countless amounts of redesigns of the Black Ops 4 HUD on the Call of Duty Zombies subreddit, and while they are all great in effort and do a lot of things right, and even do some of the things that I suggested in this video, many of them fail to encompass every tiny detail the developers attempted to design into the HUD of Black Ops 4. I wanted to talk about this because this truly isn't a simple topic to discuss. There is no easy answer. With every change Treyarch made to the HUD, as well as every change they made in Black Ops 4 Zombies, they had a purpose behind it. There was a design choice going into every decision and change. And while I applaud the subreddit's efforts to design a better HUD, and honestly might prefer some of those HUD designs, I can't help but recognize the effort and intention behind the current implementation behind Black Ops 4's HUD. Heads-up displays in video games can have a big influence in the tone and overall atmosphere of the game. Generally speaking, fewer HUD elements leads to a more immersive gameplay experience. Take, for example, one of the few horror games I personally enjoy, Dead Space. Each HUD element is implemented into the actual game world itself. This provides players with full immersion while providing all of the necessary information at the same time. That's not to say all good HUDs are minimalistic. Take a look at one of my brand new favorite games of all times, Doom Eternal. The HUD elements are insane to look at. There are a multitude of different colors, cooldowns, and a myriad of different pieces of information all on the screen at the same time. This is because the core gameplay of Doom Eternal focuses around using dozens of different types of weapons and abilities against dozens of different types of enemies as fast as possible. Because of how twitchy and insanely fast Doom Eternal plays, the HUD needs to communicate all of the necessary pieces of information all the time. That is big and easily readable and heated gameplay moments. So when taking a look at Black Ops 4, I believe it lives somewhere in the middle of these two extremes. There are moments of extreme intensity that requires players to have a healthy amount of information accessible on the fly. There are also moments of extreme silence and peace. Exploring the map, discovering different pieces and artistic elements the developers have added deserve to steal the spotlight from the fast-paced, heart-pounding gameplay zombies can sometimes offer. I do believe the HUD could have been better designed in Black Ops 4. However, in my countless hours of playing, the HUD has never proactively gotten in the way of my personal enjoyment of the core gameplay mechanics. Would the game be better with a better HUD design? Absolutely. But does the current implementation detract from the game? I honestly don't think so. Obviously, you're seeing gameplay footage without the HUD entirely, and it does look beautiful. So you can decide for yourself if having a bad HUD design ruins the immersion for you. But as for me, having a bad HUD doesn't make Black Ops 4 a bad game. It just prevents it from being a great one. Thank you all so much for your support of the channel. I am very much enjoying the new type of content I'm creating, and it seems like you beautiful people are as well. So tell me your thoughts on the Black Ops 4 HUD. What did it do well? What do people not recognize about it? And what did I fail to mention in this video? Thank you guys so much for watching, and until the next absolutely beautiful Zombies morning, I'll catch up with you guys later. And as always, stay beautiful.